Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3415. Today's date is the 13th of May 2025. It's been almost like a night at 10:41 p.m. All right, we directly jump into the question. Let's go. Okay, yeah. Question is, what is the importance of unknown in the scientific discovery? Oh, importance of unknown in scientific discovery. First of all, okay, this question is really good, but okay, first of all, let's just understand couple of things. Oh yeah, I don't know. It's a bit kind of like a something noisy over here because like nearby there is a event is actually happened, and because of this event there is a song is actually playing. So I don't know, are you hearing this thing or not? But probably are you like you are actually hearing my voice. But since I am kind of like a talking to myself now, I just need to be make sure everything should supposed to be quiet. So yeah, but still it's kind of like a little bit disturbance to me, but that is fine. Okay, what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that um, okay, where is this question came from? Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I was actually watching the web series named Demons of Leonardo. It's a web series is based on Leonardo da Vinci. If you don't really know who is the Leonardo da Vinci, the same person who draw the Mona Lisa painting. While watching this particular show, I was like really inspired and influenced by the Leonardo. The way that he think, the way that he do was like really incredible. I wanted to think like him, so I went to ChatGPT, asked that he suggest me such a question so that I would think like Leonardo da Vinci, and this is one of those questions. Now, question is, what are the importance of unknown in scientific discovery? Okay, importance of unknown in scientific discovery. Okay, first of all, now, what is actually unknown and what is actually existing? Well, unknown means like that, na, ki things that we don't know. Okay, yeah. And how does it kind of like a something helpful for us? Well, it is somewhat kind of like I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing, but I'm gonna give you a couple of examples that you might gonna realize, like you might, I don't know. Okay, yeah, let's just give me some sort of example. Okay, yeah. So basically almost like maybe 400 year ago, 500 year ago. Okay, yeah, I don't know, 4 5, I don't know, it's like maybe like okay, yeah. Almost like a maybe I'm not really sure about the era. Okay, yeah, but almost like a 3 400 year ago, at that time na, ki European countries are kind of like a something flourish. Okay, they want kind of like a something some certain thing so that they would do business. Okay, yeah, what is exactly that? Okay, yeah. So at that time na, okay, yeah, the people who are living in Europe, they have kind of like a cold winter. Okay, yeah, and because of the cold winter, they really required a kind of like a something such a clothes which is warmer. They are okay, yeah, they are trying to figure it out, but the kind of like a something the European landmass is not kind of like a something meant to be kind of like a do agriculture mostly. Why? Because it's covered by the most of the snow and things like that. Like if like a mostly most of the agriculture is actually happen in Ukraine and Russia, stuff like that. But if you went to the France and then Germany and then kind of like England, the fertile land is almost non-existence. Okay, yeah, nothing really at all. So for them, it is really essential for make kind of like a simply warm clothes. Okay, yeah, but for making the warm clothes, they really require a cotton. Okay, yeah, cotton means like that, a cotton like a kapus. Okay, in our Marathi word we actually call it as a kapus. Okay, yeah, but in English it called as a cotton. Okay, yeah, so cotton is a really essential for making the warm clothes. Okay, yeah. Now where is this kind of like a cotton came from? So they are kind of like a scouting some sort of land that where they should supposed to be get those cottons. Okay, yeah. So like it like I'm just kind of like giving the one example, but at that time European people are kind of like a something suffering from lot of limitations. Means like that they don't really have anything at all. Like they don't really have any kind of like a something food. They don't really have any kind of like a something masale. Okay, masale padartha. like there are a lot of things in the nature they don't really have, like a coconut they don't really have, sunflower, like most of the things they don't really have it. Okay, yeah. And they wanted to kind of like they want that particular thing. So because of the limitation, they are kind of like a scouting the area, they are scouting the landmass, they are kind of like a figure it out that key what is exactly after that sea. Like basically if you kind of like look at the Europe now, Europe is actually fully covered with the sea. Okay, yeah. Like basically on the right side, you would kind of like see the Russia, okay, which is kind of like a something colder. Okay, yeah. So and as also European don't want to go to Russia because Russia is kind of like a bit cold. Okay, yeah. They are kind of like a find some sort of place where they will get some sort of warm temperature. Okay, yeah. And as also because of the warm temperature, they might gonna found some sort of kind of like a something plants or some sort of cotton or any kind of like a things that they would kind of like utilize those things in their country so that they would make warm clothes and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. So they are kind of like a scouting at that time na ki they don't really have aeroplane, they don't really have anything at all. So only the thing that they have is that ki they just have to kind of like cross the sea, okay, cross the ocean. And I'm talking about the Atlantic Ocean, talking about kind of like a entire Africa and stuff like that. So yeah. So basically almost like a 300 400 year ago at that time na they realized that ki in the middle of Asia they have kind of like a landmass they called as India. Okay, yeah. India is a kind of like a very fertile land, and as also in this land there are a lot of things are available like a cotton, then masale padharth, and so many raw material are exist over there, which is kind of like something very essential for building some sort of warm clothes, machines, equipments, and everything are really essential for those things. So we have to go to India. Okay, now just look at the map from Europe to India. It was kind of like a very far away, and if you are kind of like choose the waterways, means like that if you are traveling from water, it is like a very long distance, means like that you just have to cross the entire Africa, then you have to enter into the Arabian Sea, and then after the Arabian Sea you are kind of like went to the coastal area of India. Okay, yeah. So basically it's almost like a year or 2 year long journey. Yeah, let me tell you, it's a year or 2 year long journey. It is kind of like assembly, okay, because at that time na the Strait of Malacca or like there are a lot of straits are available in the Red Seas or anything that we are most of the ships are transferred, but at that time those are the straits are not available over there. Okay, yeah. At that time if the European explorer they wanted to explore the Indian coastline, so they just have to cross the entire Africa and then they went to the India. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, because of the limitation that they have, they are kind of like a went to the unknown. Okay, yeah. And this is what kind of like a some expedition is actually happened. Because let me tell you one thing na ki if we are like as a human we have kind of like some curiosity. By the way, let me finish the story that first. Okay, yeah. Like the question is actually meant for the unknown, but let me tell you the story first. Okay, yeah. So kind of like a some European explorer, they are kind of like a finding out that ki how do we supposed to go to the India, because at that time na India is a very rich country. Yeah, it's a very rich country, means like that in 2025 US is a very rich country regarding about GDP and per capita, like it's a lot of thing. Okay, yeah. But at that time na India is a very rich country. Yeah, India is a very rich country because lot of kind of like some treasures are over here, and there are a lot of things are here. So at that time na ki India is a kind of like a something everyone wants to kind of like a conquer the India. So Arabian, Ottoman, and lot of kind of like a some empire are came to India, and because of this thing mouth publicity happened, and because of the mouth publicity European people have realized that ki India is a kind of like a something a place where you not only get the treasure and everything, but you also get the raw materials, which is essential for building clothes and machinery and things like that. So most of the European countries are kind of like a focus to go to India. Okay, Columbus tried, but he went to America. Okay, because he was bit diverted and he went to America. Vasco da Gama is a kind of like a person who want to go to the India, but he went to Africa probably. Okay, yeah. Sorry, Columbus went to America. Vasco da Gama went to South Africa. The first European person who went to, who is that person? Columbus, Vasco da Gama. No, who is that person? Like, might be I'm kind of like simply forgetting. Okay, let me Google it first. Okay, yeah. Who invented America? American. Okay, so basically Christopher Columbus. Yeah, Christopher Columbus is a person who invented, like, basically that person is kind of like a somebody wants to go to the India, but unfortunately he just diverted and crossed the Atlantic and he went to US. Okay, yeah. At that time it called as America. Okay, yeah, but today's world we called as the United States, US. But India, who invented India? Who invented, like, at that time? No, it's the, I am not really sure about. Is not kind of like a only Vasco da Gama is a person who Portuguese explorer who first European to reach the India. Oh, Vasco da Gama. Then Vasco da Gama is the first person to reach the Indian coastline. Then who, like, a Cape of Good Hope. Cape of Good Hope is actually called as a, wait, Cape of Good Hope is a kind of like a simply bottom of like a South Africa, na? Cape, wait, could you see? Cape of Good Hope. Cape of Good Hope is actually called as a Atlantic Ocean Cape of Peninsula, South Africa. Yeah, that is for sure. Okay, yeah, and the Cape of Good Hope is actually invented by what? Invention by refers to, there is no Cape of Good Hope, like a Portuguese inventor Bartolomeusz Bartholomeus Dias. Bartholomeus Dias is a very hard to pronounce. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let me correction. Okay, Columbus is kind of like a somebody person want to go to India, but unfortunately he went to US and we called as a, like, okay, went to America, we called as a US. Okay, yeah. Vasco da Gama is also kind of like a somebody person who wanted to go to the India, and he is the first person, a European person, actually a Portuguese person, come to the India. Okay, so at that time India was like a really rich country. Okay, and everyone is kind of like wants to conquer and things like that. Yeah, but European people are kind of like a something, at first they don't want to conquer. Okay, yeah, because all those empire and everything are kind of like a came here for conquer, but European people are kind of like a came here for start doing business. East Indian Company and everything are kind of like a something evidence for that. Whatever. Okay, like it's a kind of like a something long history, and I don't want to talk about this thing. I'm kind of like a jump into the point that what is actually essential for this thing. Okay, yeah, what is actually the story of this refers. Okay, yeah. So at that time, na, ki, like regarding about the question says that ki, what is actually importance of unknown, what is actually matter for it. Importance of unknown is means that now we have kind of like some curiosity, we wants to know that ki, what is actually next things. Okay, yeah, and this is what kind of like only curiosities actually happened at that time 400 years ago, when the European people are kind of like a see the ocean, and they are kind of like asking question that ki, what is exactly behind that ocean. They are kind of like only question that, because at that time now there is a theory called flat earth theory. Okay, because people consider that ki earth is a flat and we are the center of the universe. Okay, yeah, an entire kind of like a thing is actually covered by the ocean. But it just like that now, some people are kind of like a thinking that no, there is some certain landmass might be available, so they have always kind of like only curiosity, and because of this curiosity and because of the necessity, because at that time now warm clothes are really essential and everything, so because of the necessity and curiosity, they are kind of like a somebody step outside the comfort zone, and they are kind of like a went to do expedition. Okay, and because of this expedition, America is actually invented. Okay, yeah, it's not kind of like a supposed to be invented. Okay, yeah, like America is actually found, because at that time na, it's a native American people who are kind of like staying there. Native Indian, sorry. Okay, native Indian, Indians. Okay, yeah, like basically at that time na, the people who actually live in America, they don't really call it as a Native American. Actually, America is not a word. Is actually this word is actually game, like a word is actually give it by the European people. Okay, yeah, like America. This kind of like only word is actually for the European people gave that. But unfortunately, this is kind of like a something the landmass which is called as a kind of like, I don't know what is it at that time na, the people who actually live in there, they called as a kind of like a something Indian people, red Indian people, red Indian. Am I saying this thing properly or not? I'm not really sure, but yeah, this is what it is. Probably lack of information might be, but still, okay, yeah. But whatever, because of the expedition, because of the curiosity and everything, and they just, as a human, wants to be kind of like a find the unknown, and we are kind of like a today's we know as America, okay, and everything. So this is what it is. This is what kind of like a something the unknown is, like a having a kind of like a something unknown is kind of like something very essential for our growth and mindset and everything. Okay, yeah, things rough happened when this thing happened, but still it is kind of like something good. History is kind of like a lot of bloods and shades and everything, but still we learn from it, and that is kind of like something very good. So having a unknown, not only good thing for the science but everything in us art, in every kind of like a somebody genre, having a unknown is a kind of like a some really good. Okay, yeah, let me give you kind of like a somebody another context regarding about the YouTube. Okay, yeah, right now I'm doing YouTube, by the way. Okay, yeah, and I am kind of like a creating content regarding about the Photoshop graphic designing. Okay, yeah. So what I do is that, yeah, I just kind of like a create the design, okay, and kind of like a make that design in vertical video format, means short form of video content. But it's not a tutorial, means like that ki if I wanted to execute the tutorial, that means the entire video went almost like a more than 10 minutes, and that might be kind of like a something very hassle. And probably the people who gonna watch those Photoshop tutorial are meant to be kind of like into the Photoshop, so that's why. But I don't want that. I want it to be kind of like I wanted to make a content for most of the people. Okay, so that's why I kind of like a create a content which most of people are resonate. Okay, yeah. And I don't want to kind of like a go into the detail of Photoshop. No, I just want to stick to the design and how I create that design. So this is kind of like a something the genre that I created. I don't know at that time I just create this particular thing, but unfortunately this kind of like a something genre is non-existence, like a no one is actually making this kind of like some content. Okay, yeah, like most of people are creating content in long form of video, but as also this is kind of like a something mostly focus on the people who actually knows the Photoshop. Okay, yeah, but my approach is not for the kind of like a something just for Photoshop people. No, my approach is for the everyone, and executing this thing in vertical video format for all those people. So it is kind of like a something new genre, and no one is actually trying this thing. So this is what kind of like a something that na ki I somehow create. I'm creating kind of like some content which is like a no one is actually available. Like a no one, like a no, there is no person who is kind of like a making the video like me. So this is what kind of like a something which is little bit unknown. Yeah, because at that time na this kind of like a some genre which is unknown, and I try this thing and I'm kind of like a getting some sort of views, and which is good. By the I'm not really earning any money from this platform and things like that, but still it's kind of like a something new, and I'm kind of like a gaining some sort of it. And there are a lot of things, like there are a lot of kind of like a something YouTube genre which is kind of like a something very crazy, and something that keep it should not even exist. I saw kind of like a something video regarding about the guy who's actually making a video regarding about the chatbot. Like basically is this thing na ki the guy who's kind of like a chatting on some sort of chat box. I'm not really sure, and the context is kind of like a something way that the other person is reply, and the way that he reply, and the way that kind of like it's a kind of like a something the screen recording, but everything makes it so interesting that it's really love to watch. Okay, yeah, the way that he stopped, the way that he breathed, the way that like the story, the way that he execute the story was such an amazing way, was like really creative and really amazing. So what I'm trying to tell you in the YouTube journey too, like basically I am kind of like exploring this YouTube for like since like a 5 year, because before that I'm not actually used that much YouTube at that time. Okay, yeah, but since I decided that I wanted to be YouTuber, then I kind of like actually look at the YouTube and look at the kind of like a people, what kind of like some people are making, and it was really amazing. Like basically this thing, it's a kind of like a some example regarding about the how does unknown things are kind of like a evolved as something really much better. Because let me tell you one thing now, 10 year ago YouTube was kind of like a something a platform where you could kind of like a listen the song. Okay, yeah, listen the song, or kind of like a somebody watch couple of trailer or things like that. Okay, yeah. But right now YouTube is kind of like a far more than that. Like most of people are kind of like a do teaching, like a tutorials and tuitions and everything are actually happen. Like most of people are kind of like a teacher are uploading their lecture and students are watching them, they learn from it. Okay, yeah. I learn Photoshop, photography, graphic designing, editing, Premiere Pro, all those things I learn from the YouTube. Like everything, like basically in my entire life, like a basic I haven't really learned like I learned lot of things from the YouTube, and it was really incredible. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing na ki basically I just create a kind of like a something content which is like regarding about the graphic design that I already mentioned, which is kind of like a something that very unknown for me. But I try this thing, it's kind of like a something I found, and I create this kind of like a something genre. Okay, yeah. Same thing happened with every kind of like a random creator who create a something which is really unique, and which uniqueness is kind of like a something something like a kind of like a something milestones that he kind of like achieve something unknown, and which is kind of like something really good, because it is that. Okay, because 10 year ago YouTube was kind of like a something meant to be watching song and things like that, but right now YouTube is kind of like a far more expand that, like a you can found every kind of like a something video without like a besides porn video. Okay, you won't be able to see any porn video, but besides that you can see any kind of like a somebody video, whatever you wanted to make, whatever you wanted to do, every kind of like a video that you should supposed to be get on the YouTube platform. So this is what kind of like somebody is this thing that key, if the people are kind of like a curiosity regarding about some certain thing, they just explore that thing, explore that content, and they just create that thing. It was a kind of like something really amazing thing, na? Like a kind of like a having a unknown, like a having some certain thing that people don't really knew it, and you knew it, and you just kind of like a sharing to the world. It felt so amazing, literally felt so amazing. So yeah. But let me tell you one thing now regarding about this question. The question is kind of like it's only mentioned regarding about the scientific discoveries. Okay, yeah. So regarding about the scientific discovery, na, there are a lot of unknown things are kind of like somebody pushing them to the crossing the boundary and stuff like that. What are those? Okay, okay, in scientific discovery, okay, there is a kind of like a one thing that I wanted to mention. Okay, um, you actually seen the image of the Earth. Okay, yeah, Sun, Jupiter, Mars, and everything. Okay, yeah. So there is a kind of like assembly one thing that I wanted to mention. Okay, the entire universe. Look at the universe. Okay, yeah, entire universe. Okay, yeah. Now, kind of like if I wanted to calculate the mass of the universe. Okay, yeah. So basically, mass of the universe means like that. Ki what is actually in it, the universe. Okay, yeah. So let me give you kind of like some context. Okay, yeah. If I combine every planet, every star, every galaxy, every black hole, wormhole, everything, okay, yeah, how much it consume mass? It consume only 5%. Yeah, 95% of entire universe is covered by unknown thing that we don't know. We called it the dark matter or dark energy. Okay, yeah. And this is what kind of like a something that key science is kind of like a something that key push us to the explore something really more. Okay, yeah. Right now we don't know what is actually dark energy and dark matter. We just kind of like a refer this thing because it's a kind of like a look like a dark. Like a basically you went to the space and you can see the darkness. Okay. You might gonna see some sort of stars and galaxies somewhere at some times, but most of the time is actually covered by the darkness. Okay, yeah. And basically we think that this darkness is actually meant for nothing, but that is nothing. Like a like like in the space, in the universe, nothing is not nothing. Like there is some certain thing in nothing. Okay, yeah. And that is what kind of like a somebody dark matter and dark energies actually came. We don't know about this thing, and almost 95% of entire universe is actually covered by this thing, which is kind of like a somebody ask question to ourselves that ki, what the fuck is that? Okay, yeah. And because of this thing we are kind of like a pushing our boundary and try to figure it out what exactly is this thing. It's kind of like a some same thing happened with the European people who are kind of like a find that key what is actually beyond the ocean. And this is what kind of like a some curiosity right now the scientists had key what is actually beyond our universe, what is actually beyond this thing and that thing. Having that unknown thing is kind of like a somebody that key we wants to know, and because that we wants to know we are kind of like a somebody wants to figure it out, want to know. Okay, yeah. uh, there is also another example that I wanted to mention, which is somewhat not like associated with the scientific discovery, but still, maybe at that time my age was almost like maybe early 20s. Okay, yeah, and at that time now there is a one show I was really addicted by. That show name is a Flash. Okay, web series by the way. Okay, DWDC. I'm not really sure. It's a web series. Okay, yeah. The Flash is not. I'm not talking about the movie and the kind of like assembly the no the Justice League. No, I'm not talking about that Flash. I'm talking about the TV Flash. Okay, yeah. So basically, is this thing na ki all those kind of like some episode are kind of like something hanging at cliffhanger, and because of the cliffhanger, I just wants to know what is actually happening in the next episode. So because of this thing now, because of this kind of like a holding me for the cliffhanger, and I just wants to know what is actually happening in the next episode. It kind of like add curiosity inside of me, and I just wants to know what is actually the next step, what is actually the stuff that is kind of like something very good, and what is actually that key. I don't know. It add me curiosity, and that curiosity is kind of like a something like that really helpful, but it's not the helpful because like a watching kind of like a binge watching kind of like a something of something like a episode or kind of like it's not kind of like a something associated as a improving smartness and stuff like that, but still like it is kind of like a somewhat good example that everyone is actually face that because everyone is actually watching some sort of web series and stuff like that. And web series are kind of like a meant to be kind of like a creator such a way so that it kind of like a leaves you at the end of cliffhanger, and you just wants to know that what is actually happened next. So having that curiosity is kind of like a let you to watch another next episode. So this is what kind of like a simply the formula for kind of like a some web series does it. And it is kind of like a somewhat associated with this particular example associated with this question, I think. I'm not really sure, but yeah. But still what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, the unknown, having an unknown is kind of like a something very essential thing, which is kind of like a something that it means to be, it means to us as a human to improve, to develop, to to get outside of comfort zone and try to figure it out why. Okay, yeah, asking why is a kind of like a something a beginning of this finding the unknown, and it is really essential for development or evolve for the human. Okay, yeah, and that's why we call it as human. Okay, yeah, like we build this world. Look around yourself. Like we build this world is because of the curiosity. We ask question why, and because of this we ask question why we build this world. So it is that. All right. So this is it. This is done. I should supposed to end here. And thank you.